Hello, it's time for Coffee Talk again. It's good to see you guys today. Today I have a very simple thought, and it is actually inspired from my kitten, and it's on this little post-it note right here because I wrote it furiously during a meeting yesterday. I was actually on a Zoom call for my secular job, and I had forgotten to turn off my microphone. And so I'm listening to everyone going through what they're working on and if there's any needs there. And lo and behold, all of a sudden, Sylvester, my kitten, decided to leap across my field of vision to the curtains. Now I was up in the kitchen, so he leaps to the curtains and he fights to get all the way to the top, all the way to the ceiling. And in the process, knocks over a vase, knocks over my glass, knocks over all this stuff, all over the table. And I just cried out in the middle of the meeting. I was like, no! And of course, my supervisor was like, Janessa, are you okay? Oh, I'm fine. I just gotta unhook my cat from the ceiling. And it was funny. It was crazy. It was an incident. And I just thought, oh, I'm so embarrassed. And I thought, what on earth would possess that goofy kitten to do this? He had spilled my drink. He had knocked over a vase. Thankfully, it did not break. There was a candle that was knocked over. It was insane. And then, of course, in the middle of this meeting, the curtains are doing this number, as he climbs up to the ceiling. And as I'm unhooking him from the curtains, I see this tiny little fuzzy that I don't know where it came from. I have no idea. We live in an old house. But anyway, there's this little tiny fuzzy kind of floating in the air. And I realized he had thought that tiny little fuzzy was worth all the mess. It was worth getting in trouble. It was worth me rushing up and crying out and grabbing him and getting him unhooked, and it was worth it. It was worth it. And I just got to thinking about, sometimes we have this shawl is not working for me today, is it? Anyway, sometimes we have things in our lives that other people may not understand the importance of those things to us. Take eating healthy, for instance. There are people in our world that say, well, I'm going to die anyway. I might as well eat what I want to eat. I'm going to go where I want to go. I don't care, whatever, And yet, in your heart, you go, no, I want what's best for my family. I want to do the best I absolutely can. Whatever it is in your life. So many times, the things that we value or we have a passion for, others may not understand. And to them, it looks like that little floating fuzzy. Let me tell you, sometimes reaching the goal is worth the mess. The end goal is worth the messy process. You've heard the saying, you don't have cake unless you break a few eggs. It's true. It's true. What's crazy is, I've gone through some storms in my life. In fact, there was one year that I've always tried to choose a theme for the year. A lot of times the church will choose a theme for the year. And this was one year, I think it was 2016, 2017. It was somewhere around in there. And the beginning of the year, our pastor at that time, I was not a pastor's wife at that time, but our pastor at that time came up and said, I think the theme for the year, for the church, for everybody here is going to be the year of possession. And I thought, oh, I love that theme. Yes, I'm going to possess my dreams. I'm going to possess the things that God's laid on my heart. I'm going to possess this and possess that this year. It's going to be like the children of Israel marching in and taking the land. And like, yes, the year of possession. That was me in January. By about March and April, everything started to fall apart. That year was the most soul-wrenching, heartbreaking series of storms. I mean, it was like the sermon by Brother Haney about when the giants keep coming. Because I'm serious, one thing would pop up and I would, go through all of this crying and trying to figure out, how do I adjust? How do we keep moving forward with this happening? And that would happen. And I would just get things leveled out, and another thing would pop up, and we gotta adjust, and it's okay, go through the emotional junk, and then another one would come up, and it was a crazy year. And I thought, well, that was the dumbest theme, because that's not what happened. It was not a year of possession. But recently I've been thinking, because it was, because those storms made me so dissatisfied with being mediocre. They made me so dissatisfied with just settling for what I'd always done, for just settling for how things have always been. And I began to push the envelope and say, you know what? I'm going to get through this, but I'm not just going to get through it to be the same as I've always been. No, I'm going to make some progress. I'm done with this. I did it in my spiritual life. To get through those storms, instead of walking away from God, my husband and I decided, you know what? The best thing we can do when Satan's messing with us is get closer to God. Tell him it's not working. And so we made a commitment, 2 hours a day. We will spend 2 hours a day in prayer and Bible study. It's incredible. At that point, I am a ladies minister. And at that point, I preached maybe 4 times a year. Maybe 4 or 5 times a year. But the more that I began to give myself to study and prayer, all of a sudden the Lord began, talking to me, and there were these messages, and I thought, I've got message. I have no place to give this. But then all of a sudden God started opening the doors. Oh, there's a ladies conference here they want you to speak at. Oh, this is a ladies dinner. They would really like a speaker. And they would call out of the blue, and all of a sudden the doors would open. And as God provided the messages, He would also provide the doors. But it came from storms that pushed me to a point where I was sick of the status quo. And I said, it's worth the mess to me to shake up my life and change what's been going on and change the trajectory of my life. That year started me on a course of challenging myself. It wasn't enough. It's kind of like when you get into a job or a career and you learn the ropes and you learn how to do it. Take tech writing. I was a tech writer for many years. And once you learned the grammar doesn't change much over time. Once I learned the software and just kind of how they changed it and how things, operated and how to update the online help system, well, those are skills you learn. And all of a sudden they become rote memory and you know how to do them. Now, you can show up year after year with those same skills and you can survive in that job. But you're not ever going to grow. You're not ever going to be more than that tech writer. The summation of your life, after 10 years is the same as the first year. Why stay that way? Even if it gets a little messy, challenge yourself. Challenge yourself to learn new skills. Challenge yourself to grow closer to God. Challenge yourself to spend more time with your family and have an impact. Challenge yourself. Hey, if you're in a field that you don't feel a passion for, challenge yourself. What would it take to get from point A to point B to where you're making an impact in your life and you don't feel like your life is wasted anymore? I tell you, it's just like that cat. Sometimes the end goal is worth the mess. Some of us need to start making a mess. I hope that helped today. It was a little all over the place, just like the cat, but that's our coffee talk today. Thank you for joining me.